old-time marketers, let's say. You know, he's not a dinosaur at all. He's got the dinosaur traits, so he understands traditional marketing, and he also really understands digital marketing. So Rob's special, as you can see in the background. Don't let the gun put you off. If anyone's offended by that gun in the background, I really don't give a f***, yeah? So you can switch off now if you do, because that's what Rob's looking to move forward. Because if you're not into your SEO, you know, then if you haven't got that thing, so if you haven't got your website set up, so as people are searching, they find you, then you're in a bit of trouble. So, Rob, without further ado, I'm going to switch my microphone off, and over to you, buddy.
Thanks, Pete. One of the things you were just talking about there is pretty important, I reckon, is 50% of anything is turning up. So, you know, you really need to just have a crack at doing some of the stuff that you can do yourself if you don't have the budget when you first start off. I think we've all done that, but it does help sometimes to get a little bit expert help. I'm going to run through a bit of a presentation. So I hope, and also if you do want to put in the chat box your web address, if you want me to do a couple of tests as we go along, because I'm just going to show some very simple things that anyone can do with their site. But I'll just start off with, first thing is, you know, what is SEO? Well, my definition is it's increasing the quantity and the quality of the traffic. So you don't have to get lots more traffic generally, you just need to get better quality in a lot of cases. And if you can convert some of that, it makes the world a difference. So now, where are you? Can your customers or your prospective customers find you in a Google search via your category? And it doesn't have to be just injury law firm, because you might just get Slater and Gordon, but if you're a smaller law firm, you're not really going to get found for that term, so you might need a longer tail search. And then if someone's looking for you by your business name, can they find you? And then the other thing is, how many inquiries are you getting from the traffic? Now that traffic could come from other sources. So we really need to work on your website to make sure that we can engage the audience in the right way. So why do you need SEO? What do you need to do? And I'll try and give you some examples. So I'll try and rush through this as quick as I can, and then we can get into some questions sort of at the end. 68% of online experiences begin with a search engine. And you're right, that most of that's Google. And here's the kicker for me. And look, I do most of the other types of marketing, Facebook ads, Instagram, and depending on the customer, and depending on, and for myself, it's certainly more SEO and more LinkedIn that works for me. But the quality of leads from SEO is very high if you can get it right. If you can get it right for the terms that relate for you, you'll just get better quality leads. So that's why I think you've got to do a bit of everything, but don't neglect SEO. People just say, oh, it's too complicated, too hard. I want leads now, leads straight away, all of that sort of stuff. But if you're going to be in your business for the long haul, I think chipping away at it is worthwhile. You can get some good early results on some of the longer tail search terms in a short space of time. So it isn't, but it's not instant like paid ads. So here's the thing with traffic. Most of it's coming from Google. Google Maps, Google Images, Google Search, and YouTube. And YouTube's actually the second biggest search engine. So don't ignore YouTube. And especially with everyone now producing so much video, you really need to be pushing it out there as well. So Google's got a whole bunch of other free tools, and they've also got Google Ads, which again, they do work. And I guess the thing with SEO that we should emphasize is people have got a problem or challenge, or they're looking for something. So their propensity to be potential customers is quite high. Whereas when we're in socials, we're sort of interrupting people a bit more. These are more qualified because they're searching for something. And if it's something in your category and you can pick them up early in the buying process, I think you've got a really good chance of getting a good customer. So this is how Google works. It just sends out spiders to crawl through your website. It indexes everything. And then when someone goes for a search, it endeavors to push out the best result. And I think we all have to admit it, it's pretty good at that. When you search for something, we've all got better at searches. We used to search with one word or two words, whereas now we'll put in a whole phrase and we'll get a fairly accurate result come back. So there's a whole bunch of things that do go into helping us. And just for anyone who's not quite sure what a search result is, if you can see, this is one of my clients that they do really well with SEO. So we've searched for a bra type, and they're in position 1 and 2 on Google, and there's 480 searches. If I just move it out of the road, you can see it, 480 searches per month for that term. If we look at visibility in their category, they compete with some big brands and some big companies like Burley and what have you. But they specialise in a niche within lingerie. Their visibility is 22% on the search terms that we target, compared to, you know, in the single digits for the balance of them. So they do really well. And here's a bit of confidential information. So I will happy to share this presentation, but not this slide. The organic search, as you can see, the bounce rate, the transactions, and the revenue, this is last year, was way better than all of the other mediums. It's not going to be the case for all businesses, but it just goes to show that if you have a good plan, you can get some really, really excellent results. Just to show you, this is a mobile view. It's quite hard to look at the screenshot. I just did it on car tires. I've got a big client in the car tire sector. So you see the ads that come up here, and you've got the Google map listings. That's your Google My Business, and that's an important part of SEO. And then if we look at the third bit, just going to move this around. These are the organic results here. And you might think, I'm way down there. Is that going to be any good for me? It actually is. It's only going to be the more root terms where these ads are going to push you out of the road. On those longer tail searches, you'll be sitting way up the top here. But even when you're in this position, the quality of the volume as these guys, the quality of them is a lot better. And we've got the evidence to back it up. You'll also find sometimes when you search, one of my clients is now building hand sanitizer stands. You know, we're all seeing people sort of reinventing themselves to take advantage of things. So I was interested in this the other day when I was doing some research for them. But you'll also see that you can do sponsored stuff through the Google online stores. So it depends what you're doing. There's all sorts of different options. But again, the organic results here, they will get the better quality leads. Now, there's actually around about 220 factors in the Google algorithm, and they're grouped in amongst these 10. So you want to make sure it's secure, and it's got to be accessible, and that means that Google can read it and spider it. It's got to be fast in loading, and Google has a mobile first policy. So where your search results appear on the mobile, that's where they'll position you on the desktop. It's got to be mobile friendly, big factor. Domain age and a bit of stuff around authority, which is it's a combination of a lot of things. Optimized content, technical SEO, user experience. Google's got this new thing called Rank Brain, which is a bit of AI to work out if the user experience is good or not. Backlinks, we've all sort of heard about backlinks, I think, to death. Social signals is another one. So what you're doing in social does impact search. And then there's real business information, and that comes down to Google My Business and citations and NAP and a few other bits and pieces. So how important are all of these things? This is a rough guide. So you've got a lot of this technical stuff here, which you need to fix first before you get into the stuff that has the big impact. Because otherwise if Google can't spider your site and can't work out what it's about, then even though we've got lots of backlinks coming in, it'll be confused in what to rank you for. So that we really need to do a lot of this stuff prior to doing the next bits. What I thought we'd talk about today was just these 4 or 5, if I've got time, just so that you get an understanding of what they are. And if you wanted to go and do some of those yourself, you pretty much could. Local pizza shop, he's got no idea. See how it says not secure up here? That means it's, in Google's eyes, it's a risk, because if you put information into the site, it could be hacked and could be stolen. So that will scare anyone off. So most sites these days, and I'm sure most of you have got a secure site, it's HTTPS, and it's got a SSL certificate on the website. If it hasn't, sometimes you'll get this error come up, or if your SSL certificate expires. So that's what people will see when they go looking for your website. So you've got to get that sort of stuff sorted out, and it's also got to be set up so that the Google Spider can index your page. Here's the thing for page speed. So all you need to do is find this web address, and we can do it. We can do, when I finish this, we can quickly do one for one of you guys if you like. You just put your web address in there, click analyze, and it'll give us some feedback on how quick your website is. And that's a free Google tool. Here's another one, mobile friendliness, and you put your URL in there, and it'll come back and tell you how friendly it is for mobile. Very important. And I talked about Google's mobile first indexing policy, and here we have 52.2% of website traffic is on mobile phones now. Here's another stat that's interesting. If you're in number 1 position on the mobile, you'll get 27.7% of the clicks, whereas the same position on desktop only gets 19.3. So interesting how the technical SEO is the stuff to focus on how well search engine spiders crawl your site. So that's things like title tags. Now, when I showed you that search for Brava and I highlighted the information that you first see when you do a Google search, that's the title tag and the metadata and the meta description. So they're in the back end of each page. They need to be unique for each page, and they do need to include the keyword that we're targeting, but they also have to sell the click. And a lot of people aren't very good at that. They just write this boring stuff about the page that doesn't really tell you what advantage you're going to get out of clicking and going through to the page. So you can get yourself to rank, and then you've got people who are going to choose someone else because you haven't put some work into that. So it's pretty important. So we've got to structure the content, and this might be a gobbledygook to you guys, but it's just the different types of content on your page. If we can structure that properly, it'll show Google the hierarchy of what's important and what's not. I talked about creating metadata that's enticing rather than just being at the blurb. And then we've got your images. And there's a lot of searches for images, and there's a lot of times you'll see images come up in the search results. So you need to do alt tags for each image. And what that alt tags were originally designed for blind people. So what you need to do is you need to write a description, including the keyword, as if you were telling the blind person what was in the image. Schema markup, that's a little bit technical, but it's really a system that the search engines agreed upon to categorize websites or web pages. So using that will help as well. The real business information. So again, this is a bit of a split up of the importance of all of the different aspects of SEO. And this stuff here, the real business information, so that's your Google by business, name, address, and phone number on citation. So that's on the yellow pages, on all those. There's a bunch of different business directories, and some of them are you think are completely useless. They do help. But the other one is reviews. So making sure you've got a lot of good Google reviews, Facebook reviews. Google takes notice of what happens on Facebook and a few other of the review sites. Here's an example of one of my clients. They They're pretty aggressive on getting reviews, 318, 4.9. If you're not above 4, you're in strife. People take a lot of notice of this. And you'll see how they're also pulling up, Google's pulling up information from other areas. So they're pulling in the Facebook reviews, and they put this other website called Word of Mouth. They're pulling in those as well. Really, really important. So setting up your Google My Business page and making sure you complete it 100% and you're putting up fresh content on is really important. Here's one other aspect I'll just finish on, is the content of your page. This is a client of mine. Nice website, nice looking website. They're in insurance. On the home page, we've got the director doing some boring video. You click on here, they're part of a big public company called Steadfast, and it tells you all about them. It just drives me nuts. It was 1990 where we used to come to a website and say, welcome to our website, aren't we wonderful? And here we are in 2020, and we've got people doing the same thing. I did a workshop with the staff of a decent sized company to find out what was their why they believed their company existed and what they do. And we changed it. We got rid of all that stuff and we put it in the about us. And we used one of the statements from one of the staff was that shielding clients from risk, he found truly rewarding. So immediately we're changing the content so that it's more, I think it's more engaging, and it gives a bit more personality of the business straight away, rather than, this is us, we've been around for 30 years. You can do that in other ways, but it's maybe not a complete, technically this is part of SEO, but I think it's got to be part of whatever you do, whether you're using, we've got partners with us here on today who do to Facebook and Instagram. Everyone needs to be on the same page about what we're trying to project as who the company is, but to sell it in the right way. And that goes across everything that happens. So I wanted to touch on that. And just to show you where these guys are, they're in a pretty competitive market in insurance, and they're a small broking firm. But if we look at where they sit, they're not doing too bad. So we've got a bit of work to do, but certainly on the right track. So I think that's pretty much about all I wanted to go through, Pete.
Yeah, cool. So that's a good introduction into SEO. So I want to open up the mics now. I've had a couple of questions coming through, so I'll pick a couple out. So well done. I've got one from myself, Rob, to start with. You mentioned long tails a couple of times, and I kept looking behind myself, looking for my long tail, and couldn't quite find it. So what's the difference between a short, what the tail to start with, is my question,
Yeah, no, good question.
And then what's the difference between a short tail and a long tail, and there's the medium tail, and there's an XL tail? I'm not quite sure.
Hang on.
I look like a midget here, don't I, as well? But
no, look, there's what we call a root term. So say you want to search for flowers, and that's the root term that you search for, you want to rank for flowers. So you might want fresh flowers, might be another, that's like we call a short tail, that's a short term. But if you want an example of a long tail search, might be fresh roses, fresh long stem roses, fresh white long stem roses. So it's a longer tail search, cut within 24 hours or whatever it might be. So it's that longer tail search. And often when people are early on in the search process, they will do a longer tail search because they're researching and they're trying to find some information. I think I did an example on one of the early slides of an injury lawyer. But an injury lawyer, a local injury or a small injury law firm that has a high success rate. So that's an example of a longer tail search rather than just the root term. So like I've got a client who's in mortgage broking. So the banks dominate all of those terms that, home loan and what have you. So we got him to rank for low doc home loans for tradies. because he specialised. He's called Tradies. We renamed his brand to Tradies Home Loans. And so you can rank for that, and you don't need a lot of them because they're all going to be good quality. So that's the difference between a long tail.
Okay, cool. Perfect. I'm going to ask another question if I can, because I've just been reviewing some of these. If you've set your own site up and gone to Wix or one of the quick setup sites that you pay $3 for and off you're going and drop a few pictures in,
Yep.
what are the challenges you're going to have with that site? Like I always use the analogy, and you've heard me use it a few times, it's like putting a billboard up in your back garden and nobody will see it. What are a couple of the first things that if someone's starting a brand new business and obviously they haven't got the budget to spend $4,000, $5,000, $6,000 on a fancy website build and then obviously get it all SEO'd, what are the 3 or 4 things that's important for them to do or to think about or to engage somebody in to get set up first?
I think there's a few stages with your business and with where your website will be at. I've done startups with I think I'm in 3 other businesses at the moment, on the board of a couple, and one of them we did a Squarespace website. Did it within 2 days, had it up, and we were only getting people to go there, and so that was the deal. And those types of websites are very code heavy, so they won't be fast. They will be responsive. They'll be very hard to SEO. So you can use one of those sites to get yourself up there, but you've got to be, like you said, it's the billboard in the backyard, and you've got to bring someone to it. That's the only way it's going to work. If I was to do the next level, would be a WordPress site of a few pages, but not built with a template. You know how you can go to the Template Monster or one of those, you can buy all these template sites you can buy, and they've got 50 different options for this page and 20 page options. So you end up with all this extra code that you don't need because you only got 5 or 6 pages. So you're better off to show that to your web guy and say, well, let's just pick those and let's just start again and build it from scratch so that it's quick. And then you need to whack it on a decent server. See, most hosting plans, everyone says, if you go to a dinner party and where everyone's talking about hosting, I pay $200 a year. And I'm like, yeah, but you're on the same server as 400 other websites and it's slow as a wet week. So you better have to pay a little bit more, get a virtual private server so that the thing comes down quick. And it's not just for search, but it's just, you think of your own user experience when you're on your mobile phone and it's taken forever for something to load. How patient are we all?
Not at all.
We're gone. This guy doesn't get it. I'm out of here. Next. Because we've all got choice. So I don't know if that's explaining the cost end of it, but I think there's that progression with your business because we all don't want to go and throw 10, 15, whatever it's going to be to develop a website. I don't think you need to spend that much. You need to spend more time on the content, more effort on the content. And also, if you plan the SEO prior to building, that's my dream client, honestly, because we're always trying to retrofit and cobble together and fix the code and try and strip out stuff to make them faster after they've been built. Whereas if you can do it from before you start, you can build them for the terms you want to rank for from the get-go. That's the ideal thing. And generally, it might be the 3rd website that someone does that we get the opportunity to do that because we've been able to demonstrate, hey, we can get it to rank. And it's time to do the 3rd one, and we go, okay, let's plan it properly, and away we go. So,
yeah, cool, fantastic, good answer. Everyone come through here. How often do Google spiders potentially troll through a website?
It depends on how often you change your content. So if it can see your content changing every day, it's coming back every day. If it sees it once a week, it comes back once a week, once a month, once every 6 months.
So the more content you put in, is that better then for the Google Spider because it's going to see whether you're relevant or not? I know you've always sort of gone on to me regarding whatever you do, Wrench, you make sure it's bloody relevant. Yeah, you don't put shit on there that's not relevant to what you do because it's going to. I can't remember your terms. It might be like not a blacklist thing. That's a TV program, isn't it?
Well, there's
whatever and so forth.
look, they've got a lot of bullshit terms. There's one called LSI that I just hate the term. And I won't tell you what it means, but it really means other keywords that are related to the keywords you want to rank for. So it's by association. It says, okay, well, you've got your act together for those terms, and we'll rank you for them. But if you go all over the place, then Google will struggle.
Yeah, no, fair enough.
I'll just share my screen. I think it was Pip must have sent through his website, 1-800-Buggies. So
yeah.
Pip? Yeah, I'll just share my screen. Righto. So when you put 1-800-Buggies in here, you just click Analyze. This is what comes back. See how I got on here, the mobile on the left? So we're looking at the mobile score. Mate, that's shit house. So you see here, 0 to 49.
Take the point, Rob, but don't hold back at all.
Yeah, I know. But I've had sites built in the past where that's been the case. And so, because site speed never used to be a thing. If you can get in the green on a mobile, you're a rock star. You can get into here. I've seen them in the high 70s and 80s. I've only seen a few get in the green for a mobile, and it's harder with more and more video to get yourself to be fast. And you can see on the desktop, it's loading a lot quicker, Pip. But we should be able to get definitely in the green. But it gives you a list of all areas to look at to optimize. And
what's that? Developers.google.com. Is that? Can anyone get into that, Rob, or is that just a specific?
Anyone. All you have to do is type in. I type in page speed test into Google every time I want to find it. So we'll also go and see how you're probably pretty friendly for mobile, Pip. We'll just throw it in here. While that's happening, we'll go over here and I'll show you one other trick that you might like to. Yeah, it's taken a look. It takes a couple of minutes to test. So here's something that I'm not sure if you guys know. If you right mouse on the screen and you go to inspect, can everyone see that inspect?
Yeah.
Yep. See how it comes up with the view for an iPhone 6, 7, or 8?
Yeah.
So that's our homepage. And we can go to other pages and we can look at other devices. So say we've got a Galaxy or a iPhone X, or you want to go for the bigger ones, the iPads, Galaxy. It'll show you what they look like on those devices, which is not as good as the actual device, but it'll give you an impression on how it looks. Let's go back on the mobile test. Your page is mobile friendly, so worth testing out.
Is that terminology is that what you start talking about being responsive when it's adjusting to different platforms? Is that's the word I've heard from time to time? Yeah, okay.
That's it. That's responsive. But most designers, even they design the website for the desktop first, and then they try and retrofit it into. I reckon you should start the other way around. Start with mobile, and then worry about how it'll look on a desktop after that.
Yeah, fair point. Got one here from Alan. For a new website, is it better to hold back on some content so you have content to add on an ongoing basis? So I think what he's asking there, is it better to have content dropping on an ongoing basis, so don't just flash it all on there straight away and keep dropping it in?
Yeah, interesting question. It depends on what you mean by holding back. I generally, for updated content, I generally like to just leave that for the blog, or if some people call it their news section. So if it's stuff that's related to product or services that you do, you pretty
You're
much need to
unmuted,
have
Alan.
raw.
Now, if you want to ask a better question, you're unmuted now.
Yeah, look, I suppose you can describe what you do in a basic way, and or you can, if you put more time into it, you could add some more description into it. Or, would you put up the basic description to start with, and then add in some more detail about it at a later date?
I like to have a lot of words. I like to have a lot of stuff to start with. People who are really interested in what you do will read a lot of information. I get people say to me all the time, no one's got time. We need a 10-second video, a 5-second video, a 20-second video. Honestly, the top ranking YouTube videos average 14 minutes. If someone really wants to know about something, they'll spend the time and they'll listen to it. And the same goes with content. We all skim through websites, we skim through stuff, and then we find something, then we read the whole lot. So it's important if you rank so that you can be there for the skimming, but also you've got to have a bit of substance behind it. And if you can't articulate in detail, then you're not really much of an expert. And everyone's looking for someone who's got that. So it doesn't have to be written. You can shoot a video of yourself describing how you do things or what you have, but it's and you've got to get across that personality of your business and of yourself, I reckon, rather than, I see a lot of, well, that insurance company example I showed you, it's just, you look at their website, they look like the same as everyone else. They've got the same rhetoric, the same industry jargon, the same, and honestly, I'd rather poke myself in the eye with a pin than keep reading it.
Which is some of the stuff, as you know, we're going to go into regarding, as I keep ratting on for the last 2 or 3 months, of this identity-based branding, your uniqueness, to stand out from the crowd. And, you've only got to be a rock star in your world, and you don't have to everyone like you, because we're not trying to go on national TV and get everyone to love us. It's a case of...
but even if you were, that'd be a mistake. That's why we have, 2 political parties. You can, out of 10 people, this is my theory, 10 people, 3 people will buy off you, 3 won't, because they just don't like the look of you, or they don't like something that's going on. It's those 4 in the middle you've got to try and influence to get yourself enough customers to have a decent business. So you can't be all things to all people. You're better off to take a stand, have an opinion, be strong about it, not be flippant or be, have some good evidence behind it, but you're better off to do that.
And those things I touch on, Rob, is regarding how you come across and really playing your own persona. One of the things that I'm certainly trying to work on is the word inferior. Yeah. So rather than coming across as, let's look at 2 different people. You've got, say, someone like, anyone into sales. You've got the Grant Cardone way. I think he's gone bankrupt recently. Who's in your face, smashing you, telling you you're a dick and so if you don't do this. And then you've got the opposite to that, say someone like Richard Branson, who comes across quite inferior, that you warm to. So I think you've got to find your place, as regarding, who you are and what you stand for, and certainly regarding what market you're playing in. If you were in childcare and coming across as the assassin, you'd probably run for the hills, wouldn't you? If you were delivering flowers and you came across as Adolf Hitler, it probably doesn't work that well, does it? It's probably not a good jam.
No, I thought watching the presentation from Ilya and Ian last week, understanding the personality of your brand makes it so much easier. That image will go for us. That text will go for us because we know who we are, and you're not trying to be all things to all people. I think that was right on the money for me, because that applies to everything. So I don't think you can separate all of these things we're talking about. There's certain areas that are speciality for all of us. But you still need to make sure that overall marketing is sort of coordinated. I saw a question here about having an Instagram feed on your website. Does that counted as content? All content gets spidered, but there's a thing called duplicate content. So what's happening is Google wants you to have your own content. Now, it's going to be forgiving if it's first been produced on Instagram and then you're repurposing it on your website, but they're not going to... The first place it's seen is the first place it's seen. So it's more valuable if the first place it's seen is on your website. So it's good to have the feed on there in some cases, but your audience is going to see that anyway. if they're engaged, their preferred channel is Instagram. You don't have to have it on your website. You can, but to me, everyone's got their own sort of favorite place they want to play. Some people like Facebook more. You know, we're doing a bit of marketing for the younger generations. You know, they're going into TikTok and all this sort of stuff. So everyone's got their own little place. But original content's pretty important. You can't knock off stuff. But, you know, it's your choice of whether you have that feed on the website or not, but I don't think it's mandatory. I think it's better if you can produce some original blog content and then push some of that stuff out in amongst all your other social feeds.
So, Rob, I've got a question because I just want to get across a couple of things. So if you were doing the bare minimum on a month-on-month basis, because my thing, anything to do with marketing or sales or activity, is do more shit more often. Yeah. In order to keep moving forwards, because we can do more shit more often. And sometimes the stuff that we may not do is not the right stuff, but at least we're doing stuff to move us forwards and learning through testing and measuring. So if you were to look at, which I see most clients, and even including myself, you know, holding back on what do I work on this month? Do I do, you know, some Google ads? Do I do some SEO? Am I working on identity-based branding? Am I doing Facebook ads, Instagram? There's so many things that you can be doing regarding outbound marketing. But if we look at it as people are searching for us, which hopefully they are, in the industry and location that we're in bricks and mortar business, what are the basics that you really should have to do and have to have in place on a month-on-month basis?
If it's local search, that Google My Business listing is super important, and getting Google reviews. So you can easily create the Google. I'll just share my screen for a second. So I did one before on Peter Sadler. I think they're a great example because they use a third-party tool that links into their. Sorry, I clicked on the wrong one. So when you go to your Google reviews, so you click on here to all these reviews, and see we're clicking on now write a review. So what you can do, see this long URL at the top? You can use a tool like Bitly, and you can create a really short URL, and then you can share that just by email or by text to your customers, and they will land on your version of this, ready to give you a review. So they don't have to look up your business. They don't have to click on the right thing. So if someone doesn't know how to do this, they don't know to click on there and click on there. They don't have to do any of that. You can send them this. So all they got to do is click on there and in they go. So at a bare minimum, you know, that's certainly worth doing. So every time you have a new customer and they say, oh, well done, send them that out, ask them for a 5-star review and a few nice words. Otherwise, I'll just do a 5-star review, no words, and just and say to them, if it's not 5 stars, let us know and how can we make it right. One of my clients, they've got a supplier that has on their invoices that shortened URL and asks for a 5-star review on the bottom of their invoice. So, you know, worth doing. And the other thing is Facebook reviews are just as good. So not everyone likes using Google. Not everyone's got a Google account. Probably more people got Facebook than have a Google account. So you've got to have your Facebook reviews sorted out as well. So if you don't get one, get the other, because they'll both help. So I'll be doing that. Certainly you really need to go through the website and have a look at the metadata. There's a couple of different tools that we use. There's a free one called SEO Spider. It goes through and grabs all the information about each page and just displays what the title tag and meta description is and the length of them, because there's a certain length that you can make them so that it fits within Google's guidelines. And then you probably, to be honest, you probably need someone like me to give you some help, because there's an art to knowing what to write for title tags and meta descriptions. But you can learn. can teach you how to do it.
Just on that, Rob, if I'm going to ask, this is a personal request from me to you now, if you can do after this session, maybe do a 5 or 6 minute, maybe do a Facebook Live or do a quick recorded YouTube, and I'll post it up there, just explaining or showing visually, what meta tags are and so forth. Because that was always a confusing thing for me going back years ago. Like, I hear all this, but be able to visualize it and see it. So maybe you could do one as a bit of an explanation, either now or later on. That'd be a great thing to be able to do.
I'll do one, certainly.
Yeah, no, cool.
Can you see this?
Yeah. I can see your PowerPoint slide here.
Oh, I've shared the wrong screen. Yeah, I did. Sorry. Can you see the white screen?
Yeah.
I was on Pip's site here, and I just went, instead of doing inspect, I did view page source. And then I did control F and put in the title. So that's the title tag.
Okay. Is that for a page or?
That's that page.
Right, got you.
And then the description is there.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, but there is another tool. Yeah, I'll do a little video, Pete.
That'd be good. Just post it on the Facebook. That'd be great. Yeah, and we'll post that on Project X Facebook, and also check on the back end of Project X members site. Because I think we have, even though probably not in your mind, covered a lot today, and I'm sure there's a few heads that are spinning. So I'm sure we can actually start to boost this up and go into a few more split, 4 or 5 minute segments on certain things. I had a question that I've lost somewhere, so I'm going to mute you, Elliot, because I can't find your question. If you could ask that question again, Elliot, and just unmute yourself, that'd be good.
Mate, when you're setting up landing pages specifically for ad traffic, so highly concentrated, essentially purpose-driven microsites, how important is SEO on those, or can you sort of just leave it to the standard short tail search terms and just drive them, just rely on them to come from ad traffic?
You don't really have to SEO a landing page if you're just using it as like a ClickFunnels or whatever. But if you're using something like AdWords, you do, because they have a relevancy score, and what's called a quality score. It's out of 10. So if you can get a high quality score, you don't have to pay as much for the ads. The click price plummets, and also if it's too low, they won't even put you up for those terms. So you really need to think about that. If it's AdWords, if it's using something else to drive them, I wouldn't be as concerned. But yeah, it certainly. So in some cases, we've got a AdWords campaign where there's maybe 5 or 6 different groups. We'll need different pages for each one, because the relevancy will drop off if we're trying to push a particular set of keywords to something that's not optimized for. But yeah, if you're doing Facebook ads or Insta or whatever, I wouldn't worry.
Okay. No, but AdWords are a critical integration anyway, so it's just something to keep in mind.
Yep.
Thank you.
Has anybody else got any more questions? We've got Christy over here. I'm going to mute you, Christy. You are live.
So my question is to increase the speed, those figures, sorry, I can't remember the words really well, but on that page speed, to increase that, do you just have to keep uploading data to increase that speed? Sorry.
No.
How do you increase the speed of that?
The speed's going to be related to the code on the page, the size of the images and or video, and also the size and speed of your server that the site sits on.
Okay.
So there's also another thing called CDN. It's a content delivery network, so you can pay to have your website cached closer to where the searches are. So if you're targeting all of Australia, you can have it cached in Adelaide, Perth, all the way around the country, so that it gets delivered a lot quicker. So they'll mirror your site in those different locations. can do the same if you're targeting the United States. You could, AWS, Amazon Web Services, is quite popular for doing this. They've got them on the 3 different time zones, so West Coast, Centre, and East Coast to increase the speed. Yeah. So code's got a lot to do with it. Like I did an experiment with Jeff Pennington. Actually, I'm surprised Jeff's on today. Jeff built a site just out of HTML. So no WordPress, no backend where you can go in and change the content yourself. You needed to have a HTML editor to be able to do it, or be a web developer to be able to do it. And honestly, fastest thing. So if you're someone who isn't interested in getting involved and is quite happy to pay someone, so much a month to add some blog posts and do whatever, you could just build it out of raw HTML and you would be rocking.
Cool, fantastic. So thank Rob personally for jumping on today and sharing some of his infinite wisdom as the SEO assassin. Rob, like I said, known him for quite some time, so feel free to jump on and ask any questions. I just want to keep promoting the Facebook group to get you guys asking questions, because business is not about doing smart stuff, it's about avoiding doing dumb stuff, what I call the hashtag dictats. So let's play less stupid dictats and ask more questions. So I appreciate you all hanging out today. Thank you all for your time. And feel free, if anyone wants to hang around asking more one-on-one questions, I can leave the line open. If not, thumbs up, wave, lift you all, and we'll see you next time next week.
Thanks, Pete.
Bye, guys.
See you guys.